America Meditating Radio Show, we collect wisdom, inspire each other, and empower hearts 24/7. Hi, I'm Sister Jenna. Join me and guest on Blog Talk Radio as we amplify stories that compel us to be more for ourselves and everyone else around us.
The Azar Foundation for Children of the World is an organization aimed to support women and children in need across the globe. We believe in empowering lives, strengthening minds, and providing programs that enrich health and education. The Azar Foundation was founded in 2003 and has been serving the world ever since. Visit us at our website at www.azar4children.org. That's www.azar4children.org to find out more information about our endeavors and join our mailing list. Remember, the smile and the cry of a child doesn't have any language. The Azar Foundation.
Do you like to meditate? Have you tried to meditate? Have you struggled with meditation? Why don't you visit one of the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Center? Visit brahmakumaris.org.
Are you in need of a tech service company that's going to deliver the best solutions for your business? Then At-Tronica is your solutions headquarters. Here we specialize in your individual needs to make sure your business shines. For more information, please call 301-417-0070 or visit us at our website at attronica.net. At-Tronica, where we deliver for you. Are you stressed, frustrated, or annoyed at work? You don't have to be. Soothe your mind and open your heart as Sister Jenna guides you through a peaceful, calming meditation that will prepare you to focus, be present, and most importantly, bring you back to your inner peace.
Take a ride with me to paradise. Heaven's in your heart beating inside. You're alive, the great divine, older than time. Yes, you are loved, and the stars in our sky, billion-year-old lights light up the sky, and you can feel the universe through your heart, the divine design of you. The time has come for you to honor the miracle of you. And you are so beautiful, the way your body moves and holds it all. Your heart lights up hers, and your love illuminates our world. Your soul is old. Your soul is old, and the stars in our sky, billion-year-old lights light up the sky.
Hello and welcome to America Meditating Radio. I'm your host, Sister Jenna, and that's Paul-Luftenegger, and we're going to be having a wonderful conversation with Paul later on the air. And, you know, when Antonia sent me information on Paul and we started to just look at his life story, I was extremely touched, everyone, by his presence. So stay tuned as we get Paul on there in just a bit. We are leading up to Meditate the Vote. I want everyone to have this as their mantra up until up until November 8th, until we go to the voting booths. And again, we're not taking any sides in terms of the political parties. I am completely in service to all, and I'm just looking at how can we actually elevate this conversation and bring more inclusivity and more connectivity and more sense of purpose. I always think about what would the world be like if everyone actually used their God-given talents and resources collectively, especially at this time where we have the support of technology, we have the support of been there, done that, we have the support of coming through perhaps maybe within the last 50 years, two very contrasting worlds, one where we were still almost on foot to some extent, put aside horse and the Ford vehicles that were invented, to being to get into a part where we are able to drive cars now that don't even need gasoline, to now preparing in 2017 to start have cars that can actually fly, and they're planning to launch those. So when we talk about Meditate the Vote, which is an initiative that the American Meditating Radio has launched with a bunch of friends from around the country, I'm asking you to look inside of yourself and to think deeply and to explore certain interest questions such as, are you really powerful? Do you consider yourself powerful enough to initiate change? And when you change something, do you also have the power to sustain that change? Another question is, what do you value the most about the country? What do you really value the most about America, and in what way do your own value systems support that? Are you worthy? Does your life model that worthiness? These are the questions that I want us to start to have when we're sitting together at Starbucks or having a day together watching the basketball playoffs at the house. And I want you to engage in these conversations and then tweet us and send us information about some of your aha moments or realizations. But we also want your videos that basically say, I meditate the vote. I have thought about this, and I will continue to think about this. I think the candidates that we have currently in our midst are signaling to us certain deep subconscious areas of thought that we have been feeding consciously or unconsciously. So please, my friends, I'd like to turn to you to support this worthy cause, and we're sponsoring everything, and we are happy to do that without anything in return other than minds a little bit more percolated and a little bit more elevated than they were before. It's no secret we're not experts at social media, but I'm absolutely fantastically great with live friends. So for those of you who are good at social media, I'm going to turn to you to see what you can do to support this cause. We are here to love each other the same, and as challenging as that might be, still gives us an opportunity to be able to stay the chart course and to learn more about who we are and what we are. So as you all know, Little Happy is our mascot in the studio, and we all just came back from a golfing trip on Fisher Island, and she still wants to be hanging out with me in the studio, acting like she's running on the beach, and we're not going to have that today. So anyway, so you might hear her in the background, and so I'm happy that she is happy. But without further ado, I'd like to invite our beloved Sister Gita to read us something very poetic and very beautiful for the show today. So stay tuned. We're going to have Paul-Luftenegger on the air, and we're going to be talking to Paul about life. So, Sister Gita.
Good day, and greetings of peace. Taken from An Angel Whispered by Patricia Tashiro. The question posed, is there rebirth, or do we live once and then leave? I hear what you're saying, but what do I believe? Is there rebirth, or do we live once and leave? It's a strange idea, if not taught since birth, that we live many times on this great spinning earth. I am open to the idea, but I need a bit of proof, she said to the angel. That's okay. Just look at these youths. Right before my eyes, she showed me a scene of souls whose memories hadn't been quite clean. Their memory from before has slipped through the crack. They will prove to you their souls have come back. They were very young children who had incredible skills and performed far beyond what was within their will. There were many others who, since their early years, had intense and seemingly irrational fears. The angel explained fear came from before, an experience they'd had which they had deplored. It's stuck in their memory, but they don't understand. The same thing happens when you shake another's hand. Have you ever had an instant attraction? Body you don't know, but the soul stirs a reaction in you. The flip side, of course, also happens too. An unexplainable repulsion of someone you have just met. That doesn't happen by chance. Your souls have a history. You've known each other before. It is no great mystery. I still wasn't sure. I didn't know what to think. She said, "Watch this," and told me not to blink. It was a documentary about a young lad who could remember being both a husband and a dad. He knew all of the streets in his former town, but couldn't explain the mark on his crown. He found his old house and his previous wife and shared some secrets they'd had in their life. But it was she who told him about the mark on his head. It was in the same place where he had been shot dead. The trauma had left a mark also on his soul that he had taken with him to play his next role. I said, "That's enough. I will open my mind." Angel smiled and said, "It will help you to be kind. But to fully understand you reap what you sow, please realize this: you won't come back as a crow. Man has used his threat as a method to control, to get you to believe and behave and do as you're told. But this isn't right. It's a great big mistake. Human souls are always human, for goodness sakes. Although I was not sure about rebirth, I was open to it, but I know that some have strong feelings against it. For me, the most compelling evidence for rebirth are accounts given by children of previous lifetimes. In the film Life, Death, and Rebirth, Story of Reincarnation, there were numerous accounts of past lives given by small children. An open investigation, the details were indeed verified. One such account was given by a young girl who claimed she had been a boy who had been hit and killed by a train. She said that she, as a little boy, had had two little sisters, and the name of her father had been Thomas Benson. The little girl also identified the remains of the home she claimed to have lived in as a little boy. Out of curiosity, her mother checked the church registry and found that in 1875, a Thomas Benson who worked on the railway, two surviving daughters, and lived in the home identified by her daughter. Other evidence to support reincarnation comes through past life regression. In some regressions, people begin speaking languages they have never studied and use words that have become obsolete. Others have described buildings in great detail in countries they have not visited in their current life and have been able to unearth artifacts that were buried or hidden centuries before. Interestingly, some great philosophers believed in reincarnation. Socrates said, I am confident. I am so confident that there truly is such a thing as living again, that the living spring from the dead, and that the souls of the dead are in existence. Souls are eternal. They never die. The body does, but the soul lives its eternity in different bodies, in different countries, with different relationships. I have experienced that, having gone through a regression that took me back to 48 births. This is Gita speaking. So, life is eternal. Soul is eternal. Om Shanti.
Wow, that was a big one. Wow. How do I decode that one, Sister Gita? You took us on the poetic journey of soul and birth and rebirth. And, I think that's where it comes to the whole notion as to why certain things happen to certain people. And I think we're all trying to decode all of this. And whether it's something that might seem traumatic, just could be just passed on due to whatever, I think there is still some very deep mystery there where we are all incarnating to really learn to love and expand and to be able to let our hearts flow more. So with that poem, which I think was quite an interesting process, why don't we take just a moment of reflection and silence and hold the line, because we're going to get Paul Luftenegger on shortly and have a wonderful heart-to-heart conversation with Paul. So take a deep breath, relax, and let's clear our mind.
A clear mind. Taking just a minute, I turn my attention inwards. I silently observe my thoughts. Each thought a ripple on the surface of a lake. I gently remind myself I am like that deep, tranquil lake. As my mind touches tranquility, I allow calmness to wash over me, clearing the mind, returning me to my true peaceful nature. I allow peace to flow into my actions.
Welcome back. That was from the Just a Minute Meditation CD by Sister Jenna and was Clearing Mind. The American Meditating Radio is happy to welcome Paul Luftenegger, who is an international multi-award-winning singer and songwriter. Paul writes music to inspire and promote global love and kindness from within. He's a leader in his new genre of music that he calls conscious healing music to empower the listener's heart and soul to thrive more towards self-love. Paul dedicated his entire album, Love Expanding Love, to our friend Oprah Winfrey, an own television network, as a way to thank Oprah and her team for their contribution to our world, creating conscious television that caters to the heart and soul opening within. Paul is a guest speaker and volunteer contributor with the Canadian Mental Health Association and has been honored by the Premier of Ontario, Canada, for his work with suicide awareness. Today we're honored to welcome Paul to the American Meditating Radio. Paul, welcome to the American Meditating Radio.
Hi, Sister Jenna, and hi, everyone listening.
Yes, I know that was quite an interesting intro, and I'm so glad that you're doing the work that you're doing in that particular area, because it is so needed now more than ever before. Wouldn't you agree?
100%, absolutely, and it's an honor.
I listened to your songs the other day, and I got a little bit teary-eyed. Why is that?
Well, you know and I know that we're all healing. There's no one here that isn't, I don't think. I think we've all come here to heal and to work together to do that. So my music is really to open up the heart within, and it's the intention of everything that I do. So that's probably why, and it's common. So I think it's great to release.
It is true. It is true. Your focus is a lot on global love. And, sometimes we talk about fixing the world or expanding, cures for the world, but it starts with ourselves. When we look at global love and self-worth, what does Paul understand that be for himself?
Well, I have learned in my life that we all have fears. What happened for me is that I didn't realize how paralyzing my fear was to me, and my life changed in a moment, and everything changed. So for me, I really awoke in a moment the day that my father passed away by suicide. And what happened for me is I realized that if I wanted to have a life that was, whole again after being broken open, I needed to heal myself. And I learned as I healed myself, I became my highest self in manifest, but more and more and more each day. And music was my catalyst. And I was in music when I was a child, and I realized from healing the wounded child that really was scared within me, I realized something very profound, and it was that I kind of was blind, and then I had seen kind of my life, and I did a review on my life, a life review, and I realized in order to help the world, I had to be my highest self and manifest, which is all loving, as best I could. And it doesn't mean that we're perfect at that when we trip on fear, just recentering each day with a spiritual practice. And for me, that's music, and that's where I find God personally. And I decided to start sharing that with the world.
beautiful and timely, too, because I think that we're here to heal because there's a long story. There's a lot of stories sitting inside of our beings, and it all ends up in love. Like, it all is supposed to morph into love, and the more we can offer love to the body, love the mind, love in relationships, love in nature, I think we're going to settle whatever inner debt that is sitting there in the subconscious. Your international record called Love Expanding Love was funded by your fans through a Kickstarter campaign. It's garnered a lot of praise and interest from some of the most major hearts in our world, which includes even Oprah Winfrey and the New York Times bestseller. That must have been a very moving experience for you. What was that like for you?
Well, I have to say, I had, it's interesting when the universe starts communicating with you and you're conscious of it, because, it's very obvious once you kind of wake up to that energy, that vibration. And what's interesting is someone had contacted me. I really didn't have enough money to do this album at that time. And someone had contacted me, really, and said to me, you should do a Kickstarter. And I think part of the thing that I realize now is that when the universe communicates with us, we have to listen. So I did. And I was very scared kind of asking for money, to be quite frank. And I just kind of decided, well, you know what, I trust the universe, and I'm just going to surrender to that statement that was given to me about that I should do a Kickstarter. And what's so interesting is within really a matter of just a few days, I had all of the money that I needed to do that album. And it taught me something that I needed to learn, and it was to trust in the process of the universe and how it works. And that's, when that happened, then I went into the studio, recorded it. And what's so interesting is that when people get involved with something, they also are part of the creation energy of it, so they share it. And we become a community. And music, which I didn't really realize, brings people together. And it's a community. And I've created this community and co-created this community with people all around the world. And people have become friends because of music. And, when we hold hands with love, we kind of open an opportunity of love expanding. So the name of it even is why I felt very drawn to call it Love Expanding Love, because we do become that as our highest self.
I love that. I love that very much, because it's very clear that that's what we're looking to amplify in the world is more of the remembrance, and not only the remembrance, but the experience of what it's like to live a love-filled existence at this time. Many people are talking about oneness and the global community at large. And based on your work with international charities to advance social awareness issues like equality and human rights, what progress do you feel has really been made? And are you pretty optimistic about the direction that we're going in our world today?
I am so optimistic. There's always the silver lining, and what I realize is that the universe is a genius, and I think and feel very deeply that we need to honor the genius within ourselves. We are the ones we've been waiting for. I believe that very much. And the world when I was a child, it was very different than today, but I know that we've made huge leaps forward, really just even communicating with one another around the world. And what I realized is intention. When you set an intention with love and you expand that every day with your spiritual practice in your life, and for you with meditation, with me with meditation, with reflection and contemplation, with the heart space, what's very interesting is that we actually really leap forward very fast. And we become really the creators that are creating the new world, which is loving. And we just have to realize the power of intention and that potential energy. And I know in my music it has taught me this. I didn't know this once upon a time. And now that I know it, it's like you can't change back once you realize actually how easy it is to expand love once you just make the choice of that intention, of the mind, actually. And that's through love. And that's through that spiritual practice every day that you kind of take a moment for yourself to love yourself so that your cup can fill up and overflow into the world and the life that you're creating and co-creating. So I have every hope of this world, and I know that this world's getting better every day. We're all healing and then healing the world. Are you there?
I love what you just said, because I think that we have to live in our future form now, like what we are looking to walk into for our tomorrows. We have to model the experience and the vibrations of that now, because if we don't, we're going to be pulled in an old paradigm, or just an old sense of feeding ourselves, which is really, I would say, contributing to a very gray or very dark sense of consciousness. You released an album entitled The Miracle of You in partnership with best-selling author Anita Moorjani. Could you tell us a little bit about the album and how the partnership actually emerged?
Absolutely. So The Miracle of You is really, it's my fifth album, and what happened for me is Anita Morjani was coming actually to my hometown of London, Ontario, and at the time I was actually living in London, England, which is kind of ironic. And we started communicating through Twitter, and essentially I just felt very much, again, the universe, was always speaking to us, and, are we listening is the question. And I knew internally that there was something that was opening in that opportunity, and she invited me to actually share her stage in London, Ontario, which is my hometown. And I had meditated that I could start this music from my hometown. So then it showed up through Anita, and very soon after, my team on the other side started communicating with me, which happens with my music, and really a song fell out of me very fast called Anita. And I went to the studio to record it to surprise Anita. And when I met her a few months later, when she came to the hometown of my youth, I actually flew back to London, Ontario from London, England, and we met, and we just knew instantly that we had to do something. And she had been a huge fan of my work, which I didn't know how much. And she said that through a challenging time that she was going through at that part of her kind of move to LA, she actually said that my music was very helpful to her. And we had this beautiful moment, and really just over a couple of days and a lunch and performing together, essentially, we decided to do this album together, and it's inspired from her book, which has sold, well over 1 million copies from my understanding, and it's in 47 languages, and it's, it grows every day because it's loving and kind, and it's basically an album that is all about honoring the miracle of oneself.
Paul, how are you today? What's at the top of Paul's realization list of late?
Well, I can tell you, I've had a really, really intense, I know I listened to an interview of yours, and you've had some intense energy, and there's been some intense energies these last little few weeks, I would say. Actually, last week, I went to a funeral for myself, basically for a friend of mine, and I went by myself, and I've never been to a funeral on my own. And the same day, actually, that I've never had this where two people passed away on the same day. And one was actually a fan of mine who had purchased, I think, quite a stack of albums of This Miracle of You, and she had passed away while her order was in process. So I had this very odd week where two people passed away, one of which was someone that had ordered my music, and that was very emotional for me. And I realized through that what a blessing her life was, and I really took some time to reflect on her life. And she was using my music in really her cancer treatments and sharing it with people, and it was just so touching. So that was one thing that I'm learning and growing and learning how to be me, I would always say. I'm learning how to kind of be me. And then this other funeral that I went to happened to be actually right around the corner from my home in London, Ontario. So I went to this funeral, and it reminded me of how beautiful and how important it is to celebrate life. And it reminded me of when my father passed away, that I really, suicide is a very sad space to be in and to heal from. It's very intense. It's a trauma. But the thing that's interesting that I've realized over the past 5 years in my own healing and doing what I do, I also realized that we must celebrate life. And when someone passes away, we celebrate their whole life, not how they died. And I really felt that energy kind of resurface, and almost graduated, I felt, from the healing space that I had really had to go through to become who I am. So to answer your question, that's kind of what I've been going through personally. And, that spiritual practice, I sing every day to center myself, and that's where I sit with God as close as I can. And it's where I find that solace, and it's through music for me.
That's so beautiful. I know it's always quite an interesting experience to travel through transitions of very close people, or even people who are close to us that have had some transition. Kind of never know what to say, and yet it's the inevitable. Like each one of us will go through that experience, and so I think that's one of the reasons why I keep looking for deeper clarity on why we're here and what is the soul, and how the soul relates through the body, and et cetera, et cetera. So
absolutely,
you've been doing some really great stuff in addition to music. You are participating in an arts program within the public school system. And I would love to find out a little bit more, like, why are art programs really essential for youths today?
What I realized in my own life, because everything's a reflection, I realized music kind of saved me and healed me in a way that I needed it to. And I know that there's a divine design to life. For me, music and expression and creation is so important because we have to realize that we are creators, I think, ultimately. And music for me and arts and, those sorts of expressions of the heart, art and heart are, the same word is in the heart, art. And I really feel that when you heal, you actually have to open your heart in order to have that healing creation energy. And I think in school today, with the media coupled with the technology for kids, I personally feel very, very much that part of my mission is to remind the world that children need to have an outlet to create. And, our world is very good at technology, kind of making the mind busy, but actually making something and creating something reminds us that we are creators, which is why I think it's important to really, really make sure that we take care of those programs in our schools so that children have the outlet to be creators and to remind children that they can create and that it's an internal process and that within space comes to life through creation. So I think that that's why, for me, art is so important and to keep it very healthy in schools. And there's always the risk, you always hear the news and media saying they're trying to cut the arts. And quite frankly, they should be funding them more.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that what you're on is something very important. We are definitely observing the youth of today, wondering what are their social skills like, how are they really relating? And through art, definitely, I think we tend to find the beauty in the soul. I remembered, I don't know where I heard it, Paul, but I think that if there was a saying that was, if there isn't art, there wouldn't be any beauty, something like that. But I remember how profound it was, and it's true that if we begin to move away from being a little bit more artistic in terms of these areas, I'm not quite sure what beauty would be left on the planet. Paul, you are a beautiful contribution to our humanity, and our continued best wishes and pure feelings for all the good that you're doing in the world. And call us if you're ever in D.C. coming through and do a presentation at the museum, because I do nothing but love to have you there. I would so love to have you here.
I would love to meet you, and I know that I will. I know I will give you a hug one day. I feel it in my heart.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And I'm a hugging sister. So before I let you go, share with us maybe a life quote that you're living by currently and a website where individuals find out more information about you.
Absolutely. So first, I'll just, so I don't forget, I'll give you my website. So it's www.beekindness.com with the idea of pollination. So it's bekindness, like the bumblebee.com. So bekindness.com. And a quote that I'm living by right now is really, it's an open mantra, I would say. And it's just that the universe is opening its vaults for you. And I really believe that is a really beautiful reminder that the universe is actually helping you to thrive and to acknowledge that. Kind of my mantra going forward.
It's so beautiful. Paul, thank you so much for joining us on the air today. And do come back if you've got anything that's really incredible that you'd like to share with the community.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I absolutely love you, Sister Jenna.
Me too. Take good care. All the best.
You too. Bye-bye.
So we should use our lives to heal. I mean, whatever it might be, our karmic unfolding, there's a choice. We can lay down as a victim and accept that it shouldn't have happened and this is how it should have been and why did my life turn out. And yes, it was traumatizing, and yes, it was brutal, and yes, it was unfortunate. But there's a reason for everything. It's not happened to us because of no reason. There is a reason for everything that emerges in our lives. And so we are learning to amplify love or expanding love, as Paul had mentioned in the conversation. And that's my call to all of you as well, that we need to challenge our ability to love more and to love fully, perhaps maybe more than we ever have. Hope you've enjoyed our conversation today. Remember, no one can take away your happiness unless you give them permission, and we are here to love each other the same. So let's do that. I'm going to end today's show with one of the songs by Paul, which is called My Heart. So hopefully you'll be able to support this wonderful young man's work in our world. Take care, everyone.
And can you see a waterfall? And your heart is leading to it all. Your stream, how it flows, it glistens as it goes. And shine your light, and shine your heart. Shine your light, and shine your heart. You are a radiant starlight, and raise your light, and put your hand on your beautiful heart, and put your hand on your beautiful heart, and say